Hi all, it's COG here. Going to be talking about specifically Fae non-realities today. This obviously comes with a content warning for unreality and TBMC stuff. So do take care. Oh, and obviously Fae, because yeah, it's difficult to talk about Fae non-reality without discussing Fae stuff, which yeah. Anyway, so obviously this is relatively specific. But it might be of use in spotting false realities, noticing similarities, stuff like that. Just yeah. So obviously, so Fae-based false realities, for us at least, give us a set of disruptions from reality. So, for example, when in such a false reality, there is a much more exaggerated color palette in some ways. The colors from more natural things are far more colourful, they pop more, and then the opposite is true for less natural things. They show up worse, they show up less. They effectively don't pop at all, no matter. Even bright colours are muted and dimmed to a degree. That's one thing. Also, there starts to affect how we see people. Effectively, we start to assume everyone is acting like a Fae would, from our perception and understanding of Fae. So that means obviously that we lose any and all trust in their word, because as far as we're aware, everyone is acting purely out of self-interest suddenly, rather than behaving in any manner that coincides with any compassion or care for others, or even anything beyond simple self-benefit, effectively. That becomes very difficult to trust others or believe others, and not just look for the way in which they are going to benefit from us believing said thing. And yeah, then obviously the final one is a level of belief in magics and a belief in the capability to perform some small ones. Low magics, as it would be put. Although how those are defined is going to vary, obviously. So take that as you will. To some degree, I'm not going to go into depth on what those are, for various reasons, including the risk of triggering going back into such false reality, and also just the level of information being provided there about us particularly, which could be identifying to some degree. And there's a level to which, we do value attempting to keep things not necessarily completely unidentifiable, but, more secure than it could be. There's a reason we use models. Well, there's multiple reasons we use models, but there's a reason we've never used our real face even before we got models. Yeah. So obviously, it's that last belief that is the most likely to let us know effectively that this is a false reality to some degree, because it's easily testable. Yeah, and that is certainly what we found helps with this particular false reality is testing it effectively and checking it and pushing against the boundaries of it effectively and proving its falsehood to some degree as regularly as we can. And that helps remind us that we're stuck in a false reality, at least, and that perceptions can't necessarily be trusted at that time completely, and to be cautious with with sweeping generalizations and the like at that time. It is also that isn't, of course, going to work for every false reality, and it doesn't work for every false reality set we have. Even it's just that for this particular one, it's helpful, and it's helpful in others as well. It's just not all of them. So it's worth finding the ones where that is helpful and possible, at least, so that they can be dealt with more effectively. In whatever way you find best to deal with known false reality sets. Yeah, or that particular one, ideally, having unique false reality stuff for specific sets is probably more beneficial. Yeah, and testing false realities can be dangerous if you're not careful about it. So there are things that can be tested safely and things that can't, and there are things that can be tested reliably and things that can't. And the trick is, if you do want to test, finding the things that are both reliably testable and safely testable. So, for example, testing if you can fly, reliably, pretty reliably falsifiable, but not necessarily safely falsifiable, depending on how you go about it, and how exactly your belief of flight works, and to what extent you would need to go to prove it to yourselves that you can't. So that's one that's not necessarily a good idea. Certain magics can be a good test. That depends, though, of course, on what those magics are and how reliably they can be falsified effectively, and how easy it would be to have a trick of the brain basically make it act like those did happen. So, for example, if you believe you can create fire, might not feel like a safe test, and arguably it's an unsafe test in case you can, although no one, as far as we're aware, no one can, so that's probably actually a safe test, but it's also one that's going to be quite difficult to falsify. Actual fire starting is pretty much the only way of that being faked, that happening, and that's very unlikely to happen at the right time. So, But yeah. Although we can see ways of falsifying it, although that does take a extra level. It takes a lot of perception messing, which might or might not be the case, so it's worth knowing what level of perception messing, how high a level of perception messing there is access to for false realities. Because if it's high enough, if it's high, then it's not a safe test suddenly. And in fact, not an easily falsifiable one anymore either. Depends a lot. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's everything I have. I've gone a bit off script and beyond the script already, so yeah. Cool. I think I will leave it there. This system signing out. Hope to catch you all next week. Please do remember to like, subscribe, comment, especially if you've got any questions you want answered. Be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video. So catch you all next week.